In 2006, I'm Jim. I'm the son of Kenneth and the son of Kenneth and Grace. The last, okay. So anyway, in 2006, Dad had his 80th birthday. We went out to Breckenridge, and he just asked us each to write down some memories of our childhood growing up and share that with everybody that was there for the celebration. So my ward mind came up with some things from our childhood, and I wrote them down, and I'm just, bear with me if you've heard them before, it will be redundant, but I kind of did an edited version of them, so I'm gonna share them with you tonight. So this is from 2006, and I tried to edit it and as good as I could. So I was born the last son of a rich white man. He was a baker and a farmer, so he was rich in kindness, rich in caring, rich in patience, rich in love, rich in principle, and rich in God. That being said, he was also apparently rich in love of sunlight, because there was no brighter light I can recall than when the white roller shades of the bedroom windows were flung open on Sunday mornings at 7 a.m. and these words were proclaimed by Dad: "Rise and shine, it's a beautiful day." He must have also been rich in optimism, because I seem to recall these words piercing my slumbering ears, whether it was rain or shine, 80 above or 25 below. I admire and respect Dad's diligence and commitment to Larson Church, which was 12 miles out of Souris, constantly prodding his children out of bed and transporting them to an 8:30 a.m. service, where by the time we arrived during the opening hymn, afforded us little seating choice or availability. All of this even though there was always a 9:45 service at Trinity Church, a stone's throw out of our back door. And speaking of the back door, the door that was always unlocked. Message to would-be crooks: fully exposed, well-lit front door locked, well-concealed and dimly lit rear door, come on in. And you would think that with Mom and Dad in charge of 5 children in desperate need of boundaries, all rules would be spelled out in black and white with no gray areas. But I vividly recall at least one area they let become gray: the bathwater. Let's see, 3 inches of water, 5 children's baths, you do the math. I should have had a t-shirt made that said, "I survived the Joraanstad Saturday night bath experience." I can remember hiding under the bed covers so Dad wouldn't find me and I wouldn't have to go to the farm. Conversely, I also recall once Julie hiding under a pile of coats in the back seat of the '49 Ford car so Dad wouldn't find her and she could go to the farm. Now I understand why, because I was going to be the one doing manual labor once we got there, and not her. In the era of child safety seats, bicycle helmets, knee pads, elbow pads, and all-around child protection, I offer the following 3 examples of Dad's commitment to safety in the 60s and 70s. Number 1, Dad taking the old Rambler station wagon, tying a rope to the back bumper, putting us kids on either skis or a saucer at the other end of the rope, and then calmly proceeding to pull us around the slick, snow-packed streets of Souris, corners included, which, as you know, produce quite a whipping action. Number 2, purchasing a Scorpion snowmobile. Now, in the era of the snowmobiles back then, there was a lot of makers, but he chose the wrong one. Don't get me wrong, I love the fact that Dad took the time to even purchase it for us, but he should have just purchased us a wild bull to ride. This is what the sled was like. The track was narrower than my nose, the center of gravity was higher than my head, and there were only 2 ways to ride it: up on 1 knee or up on 2 knees. You had all you could do just to keep that thing upright or prevent yourself from becoming a human projectile. Number 3, where Joe and I were placed in the Plymouth station wagon during our trip to Yellowstone. In the very back, on top of the seemingly lead-weighted 8-person canvas tent and poles and other gear, lying stomachs down near the roof, facing forward. One quick stop and we would have flown over Julie, Carrie, and Kent in the back seat and firmly implanted our heads into the front seat. Which, by the way, had no lock, so they would have went. Sarah and Susan were fun to play pranks on when they were little. I was the last one at home. My favorite was when we were eating. I would point to the window and say, as they were about to get their food, or when they had their food, I would say, "Look at the bird." And as Sarah or Susan would turn to look, I would snatch their plate of food and put it on my lap under the table. Then they would turn back to start eating again, only to look confused at the disappearance of their plate. And before they could say anything, I would say, "Look again, there it is." They would turn again, and I would replace their plate. The look that they had on their faces when they turned and the plate was back was priceless. I think Dad and Ann were also amused, or as they seemed to be. The other prank had to do with a half bathroom that we had that Dad would get ready in. It had a 3-speed fan in it with a switch plate on the wall. I would take Sarah or Susan in there, close the door, and put the fan on the low speed. I would tell them, "We're in an elevator and we're going up into the air." Then I would turn the fan to the middle speed and tell them we're going higher and higher. They would then start to get nervous and reach for the door, and I would say, "Don't open the door, you'll fall." They wouldn't know what to do. I know it wasn't very nice, and I didn't prolong their fear, but it was a fun trick to play on easy targets. They were good little sports about it afterwards. I recall with great fondness now the summer that Joe and I lived at the farm. It was only 8 miles out of town, but it was fun, and we felt like we were on our own. It goes without saying that Joe was the one who initiated the start of work each day. We cleaned up the house and made it pretty livable. Other than at night, we could kind of hear the mice in the pipes a little bit. So, the tough part was when Dad would come rolling in after the bank closed, all rejuvenated from changing out of his bank clothes just at the precise time that Joe and I were ready to call it a day. Dad seemed to have an affinity for working until sundown. As I look back now, I completely understand what a good feeling it must have been for Dad to go from the bank environment to the fresh, wide open spaces on the farm and work with the soil. And I'm glad now that Kent has also kept the homestead in the family name. One fun pastime that Joe and I invented at the farm was what we dubbed motorcycle frisbee. We had a street bike and a dirt bike. And one of us would throw the frisbee and the other would run it down with the motorcycle and catch it before it hit the ground. We got quite good at it despite a few run-ins with the trees. We wore the grass down pretty well that summer. The following is just a few things that I remember, and I'm just going to edit it down a little bit here. I remember wanting to go to auction sales with Dad just for the sloppy joes and brownies. I remember being able to stop at the bank to see my dad anytime I wanted, going through the swinging door like the old style. Dad always greeting me with a smile, giving me candy, and letting me go into the vault, which was a big deal. I also remember Kent breaking his hand while racing our black bike around the gas pumps at the Farmers Union just before we went to Yellowstone. And I was thinking, man, he won't be able to go swimming at the swimming pool at Cody, Wyoming. I remember when it was time for bed, Joe and I digging through the bottom dresser drawer, which was packed full of Richie Rich, Sad Sack, and Archie comic books, and reading them over and over again until Dad would have to come in, tell us to shut off the reading lights and get to sleep. I remember Mom's deep fat fried donuts. I've never seen them since. Salmon loaf. I love that bone. Liver and onions and frozen peaches. I remember I was going to make a glass of Tang one day. Everybody remember Tang? That's right. And I thought I was going to be one then. But, well, I would stir the Tang, but it just didn't taste right. Finally, after about 3 glasses, I realized you don't make Tang with milk. I remember every time I went downstairs to get something out of the freezer, when I pulled the string to shut off the light bulb that was right above the freezer, getting a chill running through my spine and running as fast as I could to get up the stairs and escape from whatever it was that lived under the stairs. And finally, I just remember being raised in a warm, loving, and caring family, and I wouldn't change a thing.